Cartographer is the fastest and most flexible way to create a 3D fantasy world on your mobile device. It is the first holographic-like experience for tabletop role-play games, powered by a true collaborative augmented reality experience. Cartographer is the only social media platform designed for tabletop role players to share their fantasy world in 3D. We spent a year researching the needs of D&D players and have so far conducted hundreds of hours of interviews with D&D dungeon masters and players. We are confident that this tool will positively change how DMs facilitate their games in the future.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Monica and I'm from geeksagogo.com, and I am back and I'm interviewing today this amazing lady over here, and her name is Joanna Liu. Welcome to our show, Joanna, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So Joanna is actually one of the people behind this amazing app that I just tried during the weekend, and it's called Cartographer App. I actually found out about this app because she reached out on our Facebook group. I have this like D&D Facebook group that I joined in, and she kind of like told everyone, hey, I'm making this app. Would anybody be interested in testing it out? And being that I play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, if I got a couple of hours I can spend. And that's how we met. And then along the road, we met a couple of other people from the group who I've never met before, and Joanna has never met before. And we tried the app for the very first time. So before we get all to the nitty gritty, we're going to talk about how Joanna got started with Cartographer App.
Starting is it's academic inspired, actually. I was studying at NYU. I was studying games for learning. So it's basically how to create games in a learning and educational environment. And then one of the things I studied for my thesis is how people collaboratively play using creative tools. And then that got me thinking, we have all this crazy creative tools we use in the D&D community, and I would like to study what people use, and then how do these tools stand? Are they actually there better tools like for the future of D&D? So that's kind of like how I get started. And then from my interviews with I interviewed hundreds of dungeon masters. And from my interviews, what I found out is I asked if there's no technology limitation, there's no money budget limitation, what kind of tool is your dream tool to use? And then they told me I would like a holographic table, something like in Star Trek or Star Wars, you see something just pop up, you can drag and drop things into the scene, and then voila, you have a castle, you have a tavern, you have a battlefield. So I was so amazed by the idea. I thought, hey, can we actually make that? And then so that's kind of how this whole idea got started. So I started programming it, trying to make it, researching deeply into it for a semester. And then the second semester is when I started actually making the app. So started from February, I started dive into actually programming and making it, and also slowly gather a team of little supporters around me to help me through the process. So that's kind of how this idea for the app started.
I can't contain my excitement for this app because when we were trying it for the very first time on Saturday, and what Joanna did was she invited 3 gamers at a time, is that correct?
Yep.
To test out the app. But what she was doing was basically she was controlling it as the dungeon master and kind of just going through the motions of running a game with us. So each one of us had our own character sheets. I played a bard, so I had to sing some of my parts. And then we had I think we had a wizard and a barbarian, am I correct?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you guys right now, like, while we were playing, we were so immersed on it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm speaking with Joanna today. We were so immersed that an hour went by too fast and we wanted to keep playing. But unfortunately, she had other tests that she had to run for the day. So the app is absolutely impressive. Joanna is actually has a business partner working with her, and her name is Ravel Levine, and she's a chief designing officer. So when you were trying to figure out, okay, like I think I'm gonna build this app. It's like a VR app, and that's why it kind of like just feels so real. You feel like really involved when you're playing. When you were trying to come up with this, like, what was your main goal? Was it just to make it more mobile for people to play, or?
Yeah, they really started from that kind of what's the ideal futuristic way to play a tabletop game. Some people did say maybe virtual reality, like Sword Art Online. I don't know if you are familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So or any of the other animation that capture that. But I think what my mind goes to is how do we bridge the gap of now and the future. So for example, like it's really right now people have phones, right? But people cannot afford really expensive headsets. I think the bridge is a phone app for now, where you actually drag and drop placings using AR to your living room floor or to the living room table. So I can drag and drop a tree, a stone, or even a whole dungeon onto my living room table through AR. And then the next step, what we're going to have soon is we're going to have hand tracking. So you don't need to interact with your phone screen. You can have a phone holding your phone, and then you have a finger. You can drag and drop things onto your living room floor, and then that's the next step. And the third step is that we'll have this kind of glasses, like cheap and easy to access. Maybe Apple glasses will finally get there, and then you can just tap one tap, and then the thing pop up on your table, and then you can drag and drop with your hand. Then we get closer and closer into that, like to the sci-fi movies, right? So it's kind of like I also wrote about this article about how science fiction and technology are really intertwined. When like we see something in sci-fi, someone imagined it, the technology person is like, hey, I wonder if I can actually develop that. And then when science fiction is also based on the current technology development. So it's kind of like a cycle of sci-fi relying on technology and technology relying on science fiction. So it's a fantastic of pushing things forward.
That's amazing. When we were playtesting it, we saw like the DM's view of it, the dungeon master's view of it, because you were basically controlling the app. Because now as a player, would I be able to view it on my point of view if I was using the app? Like, let's go about like how this works. Like, let's say we're in an actual campaign. Does everyone just get invited by the dungeon master in their phone?
Yeah, so there are a couple ways you can do this. One way is also you can just through shared screen if other people don't even want to use their phone. But if they do, you can send an invitation to other players as a dungeon master. And then what this does is you can just drag and drop any elements to build a map. you can build this map beforehand as a dungeon master, and then you can save it and just load it for people to see. Or you can build it piece by piece during the campaign as the campaign progress. So for example, if I drag in a castle that's pre-built, and then I kind of give it to my player, and then my player will just see the castle itself, and they can also see it from their character's point of view. So for example, I'm the rogue. I can look around and see what the bard is next beside me. I see a ghost right in front of me. I see a skeleton surrounding us. So that's kind of the environment, and that's all through just holding your phone. You can look through in real life. You can walk around things if you want. And if you feel like, okay, this is too much, I want to just see it top down, see the structure of this castle, this dungeon, you can press one button, and then it will all shrink to a kind of tabletop size.
Yes.
You can see it, a bird's eye view from the top. So that's kind of how we imagine this. And you can use your phone camera, move closer to something to see a detail, or you can, zoom out to see it. So it's all very intuitive motion. It's all about you moving around, seeing the environment around you.
That was like my favorite part during our playtest last Saturday is you were able to scale it up to like an actual size. Like if we were in a cavern, sorry for the spoilers here. Like we were in a cavern and there was this ginormous skeleton like right there in the room with us. It was ridiculous. Like and one of the players, I believe her name's Nicole, and she was like, I wanted to open that chest so bad because it's like within reach. It was like 10 feet away from us. So it was so interactive. uh, Now I know that you're right now, for the time being, you're kind of like marketing it as a Dungeons and Dragons type of tool. Do you think you would want to branch out into other games like board games or like other types of games? Like I was thinking the other day too, was because my husband and I, we also play Kill Team, like Warhammer Kill Team. So do you think those type of environments would probably be a part of Cartographer soon?
Definitely. I think a lot of board games will, like any game that you think has a mini, has a dungeon, has a visual, it's a great way to do this. And then because you can build a custom environment you like. And then, so this is for like game developers, if they want to not just build a game, but also build a 3D environment for their players and then sell it on the app, then that's a totally different story. For example, you have a board game version of the game, and then you say instead of digital version, what you have is a 3D AR version. People can walk around your dungeon. So
That's
that
very
would be,
cool.
yeah, a completely, like next level. So yeah, so definitely. And this tool has so many usages, even beyond tabletop gaming. If you think of
Mhm.
in educational setting, if I'm a teacher and I say, oh, hey, I want to build a rainforest for my grade 4 students to explore environmental science. And then I say, hey, can each of you guys drag in a tree into this rainforest that belongs here? So that's another usage, like interactive gameplay kind of something for education. And then also, if you can think of using this as an architecture firm trying to design something, or as a film director, instead of saying, hey, what about this shot here? I can say, hey, can I, like, you know what, like this is a tree, this is a church, this is your characters, and then I want to shoot this scene from this perspective. So it's just you drag and drop. It's really simplifying 3D design in a way.
Do you think, with the popularity right now of Dungeons and Dragons and people streaming it live on Twitch, do you think there's a possibility to start streaming your app while playing? And is there a capability to save the game
Oh
after?
yeah,
Yep.
totally. Yeah, the game is auto saved. So even if the app crashes, because obviously we're still developing it,
Yeah.
technology is not the most stable right now, to be honest. But even if it crashes, always like feel really good because that I can just get it back in seconds. It's all auto saved as I place them. So you can have a battle in the mid battle and stop there and say, hey, we'll catch it like up next week, and then next week you just load the same battle very easily onto your table again. And then another possibility is you can have your streamers to actually walk around your campaign. They can see your
Oh my
characters.
God.
Like it's not just like you can have, hey, here's a link, guys. Walk around the campaign, be immersed in this campaign with us. Don't just listen to us, but see what we see.
Oh my God. That's a whole another ball game in there. And I know you've mentioned also that we also have a capability of scanning our minis for the game. Am I right?
Yeah. So right now there are definitely lots of technologies like does photogrammetry, so you can have a lot of different photos taken from different angle, and that would form a 3D model of what you scanned. So using that similar technology, we can convert that scanning into a model that you can transfer into this digital form. So you can scan your physical dungeon pieces or your physical minis into this app as well.
So during the playtest, have you ever had any like odd kind of like encounters with gamers or anything like that? Like anything like you
Yeah. Well, I would actually say the tabletop community, the tabletop RPG community especially, is really warm and welcoming. So it has been generally a really, really good experience for me. And everyone's very supportive and encouraging and really seeing the project grow, especially when we first started as academic research. So it's a very different like angle when we say, hey, we're just students, we're researching this. It did turn someone off if we suddenly, they feel like we change our tone, we're now a business. But that's how academic research developed. They we start with finding a problem through research. We design a solution, and that solution, if it's good, it become a real business idea. And I think that's just how academic can be like not just a study, but be useful to the world, right? So I see that as giving back. So we definitely receive different kind of like, you know, different kind of people telling us, oh, now you were researchers, now you're just like trying to sell. We're like, no, this is kind of coming from research, and we
Mhm.
now are developing it into something we think can give it back to the community.
Yeah.
And that's really where it's come from. Um, yeah, and another difficulty is that we did try to apply to a lot of business accelerator program, and then a lot of time on the business side is as a gamer, you also get looked down upon because gaming is even though they know it's a huge industry, it's still being placed way below healthcare, way below education, way below any other industry, finance, IT out there. So when they hear your product is gaming, and especially when you say, hey, it's tabletop gaming, they're like, what is it? And then you try to explain, they're, oh, that's so nerdy, that's so niche, that's so small.
Yeah.
Even though there are 20 million people, active online players in North America alone playing D&D right now. So it is really like, you get look up down a lot, and then you are placed pretty low in their queue of investment. That's why, like, when someone asked me the other day, like, why are you considering Kickstarter to be your funding source? I'm like, well, literally, I don't know where else I can get the funding
Yeah.
and get the money. Yeah. So yeah.
And I'm glad that you did bring that up because I think that for the amount of time and the amount of talent and artistry that you put into this app, it just sounds fair for you to be able to have that option to charge people for that service because it's a lot of like at this point it's like years. And as you said, it is research. You work really hard for it, and why keep working yourself hard for something free, right? But the beauty of this Kickstarter is I know that you're featuring there are free aspects of this app and there is a paid aspect. So you kind of like win both ways. Like if people want to have the extra um, features of it, you can pay for that extra features. And if you want just like the basic stuff, then you can get it for free. So thank you so much for giving that option because I know like a lot of people are kind of like hard up for money right now because of what horrible year we had all last year and it's been rough. But you're right. Like gaming has really like gone up since then. Like people have been interacting through gaming online, and this industry, although it's not common and some people think like, oh, it's just games, like I think they need to rethink that and they need to relook at this market because the market is booming right now.
Also mentioning that, like, yeah, actually the app will be free when actually launched. There are some premium features that there is. So there is a pro subscription, and also there's a social media aspect to this app that we haven't talked about, which is like we're hoping to not just we giving back to the community, but other people can build their map very quickly. And then if you are a dungeon master and you build a fantastic scene using Cartographer as a tool, you want to showcase the map somehow. You can share it on your profile, or you can even sell it on your profile. So hopefully that create a kind of like a creator market, so people can sell their own map they made, and then other people can buy their other 3D maps, so they can just load onto their living room table. So if I want
Oh
a
my
dark
god.
dungeon encounter, instead of going to Google and randomly search dark dungeon pictures and show my player, I can just search on this app, dark dungeon, and I'll see like hundreds of dark dungeon 3D maps already made. Then I can just pick one, and then maybe it's $2 on the app, and I buy it, and then I can just load it directly for my player to see during a game. So I don't have to commission hundreds of dollars for artist to draw it for me or something like that. Yeah.
And that's actually really amazing and interesting that you're incorporating that. Not only are you helping players enhance their game, you're actually also helping them have this type of revenue. Like I can see this app, and I was talking to her about this, like on, like after our play testing. Like the fun part about this is just like if you're a RPG business and you write your books and you write your one shots, it is absolutely perfect for that. Like if you pair this with the one shot that you write about and just use this app, you can use this during conventions. Like when you talk to people about your book or your one shot or whatever, like
Yeah.
you can show them and
Mhm.
immerse your audience at the convention and show them, hey, you want me to kind of like demo um like a little bit about the game. So and you just show it right there on the convention floor, like provided the Wi-Fi is good, right? Because sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That would be fantastic use of it if
Mhm.
you write a story, you're a writer, and then you want to show people, hey, let me take you inside the story.
Mhm.
How powerful is that? Like instead of saying, let me flip some pictures and show you the story, it's literally, let me take you inside my story, and you show them in a 3D environment.
Mhm. Yeah, I find it like so interesting. There is really like this app really has no bounds. Like I was telling her like when we did our playtest, like I see a lot of people when we go to Gen Con, they have all of this um like War and Forge, and I'm sorry, like the heavy the heavy stuff. And they set it up on tables
It looked
and
fantastic.
yeah,
So
it looks amazing, but you could still use it. But when you use the app, you can easily like add stuff. Like it's say like if you were looking for a particular mini and you forgot it at home, or if you're looking to add like something like trees or like a treasure chest, but you don't want the rest of the players to see it while you have your setup there, that's a perfect way of doing it too. And it's just so incredible how much you can customize it. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Kickstarter?
yeah, we're launching a Kickstarter tomorrow. It's set at a very small goal of $10,000. It's mostly for gathering more 3D assets and then contracting 3D artists to build some of the 3D environment for us. And it is basically have some free features and also have some paid features available for you to choose which kind of combination you want. And it's really the idea of this is because one, this is a social app. So social need people to test the social element. So we do need as many people to know about this uh, as possible. And Kickstarter kind of provided us that reach to reach a lot of people all at once. So that's kind of what we're hoping to really to get more people just familiar with the app or know about this. And then yeah, so it's really just a way for us to test if this is something that people actually want, because we worked so hard for a year for this. And then um, the technology is very new. It just started, like some of the thing with this technology is some of the technology I'm using are keep updating, and some of the technology just updated like in October, like 2020, which is basically 3-4 months ago.
Yeah.
So when I'm programming it, it's very difficult for me to find information about how to solve a error. If I encounter some mistake, something I cannot figure out, I can't not just Google it because it's not there. So I'll
Yeah.
have to do some creative problem solving and thinking, trying to figure it out. So it really takes a long time for me to get things right. But I'm very confident in this because actually before I started this app, I was already very interested in the virtual reality and augmented reality space. That kind of immersive experience is something like I really enjoyed, and then I wanted to take that to the next level. And then I also at the same time I want to give people the flexibility of doing everything on their own. So I'm thinking this is what's the next Lego, what's the next Minecraft, right? Is in the 3D space, giving people unlimited creativity, because creativity is so important in this day and age. I just want to inspire that creativity, but in a new, easy way, just making things easier and easier for people.
So, do you have any planned stretch goals for the app?
Yeah, if it goes well, that we have no idea because this is our first Kickstarter, and then uh, we also don't really know how this works exactly. To be honest, we can only press launch and hope this goes well. So so for me, we do have some stretch goals lined up. It's currently a mystery stretch goal, but I can leak a little bit information. Is that it's going to be more amazing asset packages like the Paris ship, for example,
Oh
asset package,
gosh.
or like Edo Japan themed buildings, or like dark dungeons, like gothic, like city and things like that. We're hoping to build a bunch of like free assets for you guys as kind of like you can just drag and drop onto your living room table right in front of your players. So yeah, so the thing about this is it works fantastically remotely as well as in person, because
Mhm.
if we are remote, like we're now, I can send you an app, and then like I can send you a map I built in on the app, and you can load everything onto your living room table. I can see it on my living room table. It just, and you don't need any extra space. You just need a space to put the map.
Yeah.
So yeah, some people during the playtest even told us, hey, you know what? I can just pull a like blanket over my bed, and I can create this like gigantic city on my bed. I was like, yes, you can, and then you don't have to worry about knocking things over.
So, what other takeaways did you get from the playtestings that you have done like in the past few weeks, like with other players? Like, what other like cool stuff that you like heard from people about the app?
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. We're actually thinking about designing like a range of animations people can choose, digital dice people can roll in the app, hit points that you can hide and show that's going to appear on top of
Oh,
your character's head. And then there's a lot of like cute, interesting gaming interaction ideas that I think it would be very fun to implement and very good to have in the app. And then we also heard from people, like I think the biggest one was like I said, you said about the convention, and someone else talked about like, oh, inviting all your players, on your Twitch channel to see your campaign live. That like see your environment, being immersed in it. That's really cool use case of this. And I don't know, it's just like talking to people, brainstorming all the time. Some of the features we are already thinking about for months and just haven't implemented yet. It's already on our to-do list. And some of those are new features that people have listed. I have the spreadsheet like of basically like 100 features people has mentioned during the playtest. So and I listed them by priority and listed them by like how difficult we can achieve it and how much they're going to cost us to make it. So
Yeah.
I have everything organized in a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheet. So
Yeah.
like it's kind of like Google spreadsheet is my number one tool for everything.
Are you going to have it available like this year, or how soon will you have it available?
Yeah, so if you are anywhere on the we also set our tier as beta testers, alpha testers, and also insider with all the assets on launch and different early bird levels as well. So so basically, if the alpha testing, we're hoping this summer you would get an alpha kind of version out there, and then beta version will be somewhere in the winter. So that kind of think of it as a Christmas gift if you are a beta tester. And if and then we hope the real thing will launch next year, June or August, depending on how many features we want to add on. And then so the public launch will probably be next year, June.
What is your favorite character to play in D&D?
I have this character who thinks he is a bard, but he is actually a warlock. So that's the twist. So basically that's my favorite character to play. It's basically he grew up in this tribe, and then he sometimes like basically walk into this like fey world when he was young. He didn't know he was in a different world, and he came back and he suddenly started to have some powers. And then what he started picking up is also instrument at the same time. So he saw the powers coming from bard and then being a musician. And then he would talk to his other musician friend who are also bards and trying to exchange notes and then trying to figure out what kind of powers he has. But like he really has no idea there's a patron like who basically giving him the power. So he's actually a warlock, but he'll describe everything he does as a like bard. So
that's so cool. I love it.
And usually what I do is I usually play male when I play D&D, and then my husband plays female character. So we do a role exchange sometimes. And I think my favorite character that's not the one that I created is his character, one of his character, who is a little pixie monk, who basically discovered a manga basically about samurai, and then like decided to treat that as a kind of like training manual and then for herself and then use that book as kind of as her bible of like learning the ways of samurai.
How about Raval? Like does she play with you guys too, or?
So she's kind of somewhat new to this world, even though she has always been in this world. Like for her college, she even wrote a paper on like Magic the Gathering. So she's always been observing D&D players, but she's more a researcher perspective. So basically, I kind of lured her into this world. It was like, hey, like you want to research D&D? And then like she's like, okay, that sounds fun. And then after she started researching, like you have to play to research D&D. And I introduced her how to play D&D, and now she's a player. So so she's pretty new still. But then yeah, so that's kind of like a thing I do. She'll say that that's kind of my hobby, is that I go to, before COVID, I used to go to parties, and then I would just kind of like, I have this necklace that I can take out D20s from. They're
oh my god!
So I just take out my D20 during a party, and I was like, you want to learn how to play this cool game? I can teach you in 5 minutes. Let me teach you how to play Dungeons and Dragons.
That is very cool. I've never thought of that. I have a keychain, a D20 keychain, like tied to my keyring. Like it's like trapped in there. But I never thought of that. That's amazing.
I'll make you one. I have that's why I was saying I have a jewelry store that also sells D&D related stuff. It's called Riven Knot. and
Raven hat.
that's
Okay.
basically like yeah, so basically I sell like D&D necklace and D&D jewelry related stuff. So yeah, so I can just take out my dice anywhere I go, and that was used to be my number one sign at parties, like basically finding people who likely to play D&D but too timid to try it. I would like go talk to them and then make them a D&D player.
Right? You know what? And it's another thing that I was kind of like encountering with some of my friends. They were so intimidated by it. Like anything that's like tabletop RPG, because they're like, "Oh, it's a huge time commitment," or like, how much do you need to be in character the whole time?" Like kind of like that kind of like thing. And that's how you kind of get that hesitation from people to join.
I think it's just passion. If you're so
Yeah.
passionate and you look crazy, interested in that, and then like
Yeah.
I would go to business meetings, and then people would be discuss investment with me, and I would go, hey, by the way, do you have like are you interested in D&D? Like I ask everybody. I tried, like I just met with a bunch of business coach last night, and then at the end of the meeting I was like, yeah, the secret mission of this is not to coach us business, but to draw new players to to the D&D world.
I
So
love
if
it.
I like, I'm showing you all my business, D&D related business stuff, but the real reason is I just want you to be D&D players.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you just need to be so passionate about it. And by the end of anyone who met you was like, oh, that person is so passionate about something. That must
Yeah.
be really interesting.
Yep.
That's yep.
Well, my husband and I were discussing, like how much D&D is such a tool for learning. It really is. Like you learn math, you learn social skills, you learn a lot of what do you call those, like problem solving skills. And then somebody else from another D&D group that I have like asked me, okay, how has D&D benefited me when I started playing it? And I told her, that's an interesting question. It's actually helped me hone my skills to um, articulate in English. That's another thing that kind of like helped me with D&D. And I don't think a lot of people like realize that it just has so much stuff for you to learn. It's not just a social aspect. It's like that's why a lot of kids, I feel, really like getting into this game now. That's why it's becoming really popular, because
Yeah.
you're not just playing, you're actually like problem solving with your friends, working
Hmm.
together. And there's been articles out there, and it's funny you mentioned about the whole like professional aspect of it. Like if you're talking to like business people, there has been a few offices that have actually used Dungeons and Dragons as a tool
Hmm.
to build like a group bonding, or
Yeah,
how do I
team
say that?
building.
Yeah, team building. There you
Yeah.
go. See? Like yeah, like start like doing like team building exercises using D&D, because
Yeah.
what is it? It's a bunch of like people who have all these unique skills. Like each of our characters have unique skills, right? And you solve a problem. That's
Mhm.
pretty much what D&D is, and that's amazing.
It's really a powerful tool. Like even for myself, from a personal perspective, I moved a lot as a kid, so I have always been a little bit isolated. I didn't make a lot of friends, and then all the time I used to do is I would be in my bedroom and kind of just like play out characters, random characters in my head, right? So I would just go like pretend, okay, I'm a detective now. I'm doing this, and then, like I would just pretend in the empty room and then trying to act out different characters. And then I always thought I was weird until I found D&D, and then I was like,
Yes.
okay, hey, I was not weird. That was totally
Yeah.
normal thing to do. And now I can be an effective DM. I'm good at improv because I literally has been doing that for years, just facing a wall and doing that. But
Yep.
now I can actually face people and then do the same. So yeah, so it's a really good creative outlet for me. And it's just like where everything kind of clicked and just everything like makes sense. And then you feel like all those times I've been practicing something, it turns actually a use for it.
Yeah, right? Like exactly like you're not the weird kid anymore. You're with the weird kids now. Like right? Like we feel like we have that community of like weird people like just like getting into this game. And it was just so like amazing to be a part of it. But what got you started into Dungeons and Dragons? Like what inspired you to or like
Yeah.
who introduced you to playing Dungeons and
Yeah.
Dragons?
It's kind of a cliche. I was in a long distance relationship back then, with my husband, now husband, but back then we're just dating 7 years ago, and then we've been in a long distance relationship for quite a long time before I actually moved to US. So yeah, so I was in Canada. Uh, so yeah, we were like, let us do some interesting activities together. So we gathered a couple of friends and we started playing uh, a like different campaign called Fantasy Age, and
Mhm.
like just a short campaign. And then we're like, okay, so this is kind of interesting, and we started to get familiar with different RPG systems. And then we found D&D 5e, and then it was like, okay, this is seems to be the sign. So yeah, so that's really how we started and transferred. It's just to kind of like have a common activity to do as boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And now husband and wife, right?
now husband and wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like we have a similar story. Like my husband did introduce me to Dungeons and Dragons. I currently play with him on a weekly campaign. I'm almost always the only girl playing
Oh,
in every single campaign that I play. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually not bad, but it's like what you said, like with you and your husband, it's our way of bonding time. It's like our way of like uh having something in common. Like we go to like comic book conventions all the time, and I do my cosplay, and I kind of work when I'm at conventions because I'm interviewing people like you. So and then on like once all is said and done, I'm done with my work, then we play Dungeons and Dragons right after that. Do you think Dungeons and Dragons have improved your relationship with your husband in some way?
oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that kind of bonding. One day, like he would just like said like, "Hey, honey, do you remember that time?" And then he suddenly stopped. No, that was in a campaign. That was not real life. And then you're
That's amazing.
So I think that's like a second reality. You're bonding together. You're living in another world, another like having a second life, but together, right? Still. So that I think that's a fantastic part about Dungeons and Dragons is that it makes like all the adventures, all the traveling, like it's almost the same as a traveling experience because you're experiencing something amazing adventures all together. Yeah, so this is I think that's the beauty of Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, I know you have your hands full of creating this app and perfecting it, but do you think is there any other D&D products or products out there that you want other players to help to use so that they can help them during their game?
Oh yeah, I just came up with a list of things. Actually, come from our research team. I can tell you a little bit because we are also formed a research team called dnd.research on Instagram, and then we publish
Oh,
a lot of D&D related data. So definitely check that out.
oh my
Uh,
God,
yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
yeah, so one of the things, yeah, so one of the things we're doing this semester is I have the Cartographer app, and then my co-founder Rival is actually building her own thesis, and she's studying role play, and
Oh,
so she's building a 3D character creation app that's kind of separating the game mechanics aspect from the character background and the information building. So it's kind of what she found is that it's very confusing with how D&D Beyond kind of it's fantastic, but it's also confusing for new players because they're suddenly introduced with, okay, I need to think about who my character is. At the same time, I need to think about, uh, like how to create a character within the game mechanics of the game. So that kind of things like confuse people a little bit. So trying to brainstorm a new way to introduce new characters, new people to the game by creating a character that's separated from game mechanic and scaffolding people through the game mechanic more effectively. So that's her research. So when she's done, we can basically create a customized 3D character building tool that you can import your character from there into Cartographer.
That's
is
so
my hope.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have another student who is creating unlimited AI generated procedural generated terrain. So yeah, so
Oh.
that would be a very cool feature
Yeah.
as well, like, as an independent app, and also think about that with Cartographer. You can random generate caverns and caves and, dungeons and like snow mountains, and then you can place monsters somewhere with the drag and drop feature. That would be fantastic. And we also have another project coming up is kind of like thinking about actually education and how a lot of teachers are struggling with online teaching right now, online classroom management. So
Mm-hmm.
we've been playing D&D online, and then we have gathered all of interesting information about kind of managing not the classroom but managing the players using like as a D&D group, right? So I want to kind of like combine that with online teaching and see if there's a middle ground, something that we can create a D&D using TTRPG rules, basically, to manage classroom for middle school students or high school students. I think that's a very interesting tool, because what I found is teachers who are really good with remote online play as well, because they can say, hey, you speak, next you speak. So it's kind of like an initiative order, right? So I think a lot of things we can build a middle ground. So that's another project I'm really excited about. So there's a lot of projects. Like I said, I'm a mad genius, like idea machine, and I kind of like had to like, hey, what about this? And then, hey, what about that? So yeah.
That's amazing. Keep those wheels turning, because what you've created so far is just absolutely beautiful. Well, is there anything else you would like to share about your Kickstarter and Cartographer app?
Yeah. I guess really just go there tomorrow, back us up, and hopefully we're creating a piece of, a glimpse of future for you. It might not be the full future, but it's definitely a bridge to the future. And hence, like, I'm going to shift this way, bridge your imagination. It's
Yes.
kind of our logo. So you want to, like, you have imagination, we want to bridge it for you. You have an imagination for future, we want to bridge it for you. So that's kind of the idea. Yeah.
Yep. And this is only the beginning, folks. Like, so far from what we've done during the playtest, everything looks amazing. So imagine the possibilities. So, Joanna, thank you so much. Where can they find you and Cartographer? Like, what
Oh
social
yeah.
media accounts?
Yes. Yeah, you can find Cartographer at in our Instagram account, which is Cartographer without the E, without the pointing this side, without the E, underscore AR, Cartographer AR. And then you can also find us at cartographer.app. That's our website. And another thing you can find me is at D&D Research, dnd.research at the Instagram. And also you can find me at Ribbon and Knot for my jewelry stuff.
Awesome. Well, Joanna, thank you so much for joining us. I had so much fun like talking to you more about the Cartographer app, and I can't wait to just start playing around with it and just like downloading it in my phone to use on my games. So thank
Yeah,
you.
you're amazing, and thank you. Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and you're doing fantastic work.
Thank you. Good luck on your Kickstarter, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.